I introduce you Professor Chiara Rovazzi. She's a research fellow at the University of Valdeossa and also an external professor of life design at the University of Milan and a collaborator of psychological career and counseling center at the University of Milano. She's a member of the board of directors of the Italian Association for Vocational Guidance and collaborates with the Equal Opportunities Committee within the Order of Psychologists of Lombardy. Her research activities are carried out in the field of career counseling, community psychology, gender psychology, and specifically related to prevent gender discrimination and promote gender equity in career choices and work contexts. So you can start.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to invite me. And thank you for this great introduction. I want this introduction for the rest of my life. Really, thank you very much. How are you? Are you fine? Are you okay? Okay. Normally, I ask that before my lesson because I'm afraid to ask after. You know, I will show you today gender discrimination and ethnicity discrimination. So normally people are better before lesson. So I tell you, be ready for the data, be ready for reflection, because sometimes it's not so easy, so easy to feel very well after discovering that our society is not so full of equity. So who I am, Professor Ginevra already said, and I don't want to, take too many times to describe myself, but I want to go deep and deep with you in the reflection about gender, ethnicity, and the intersectionality. What we will do today. First of all, I just spent few minutes about, ally ourselves about a gender issue, gender stereotypes, and all the, gender and ethnicity discrimination that we are facing nowadays in our society. Then we talk a little bit about intersectionality. So the difficulties to take in consideration several discriminations, several identities at the same time. I give you an, in my opinion, an important example. For instance, I'm not sure if some of you already knew, but nowadays, all the recruitment, a lot of recruitment are made by artificial intelligence, by algorithms, by robot, and they are full of bias, gender stereotypes, gender discrimination, and we will see how the impact that this kind of intersection between gender, ethnicity, and discrimination in general and algorithm could have. And finally, in order to give you some hope for the future, some good feeling to hand together, I give you some strategies, some action that we can do every day in our activities and in our research, if some of you will make some researches about. So just some aspect in order to be ready to reflect about the intersectionality. Nowadays we live in a wash machine, is in a crazy world that is characterized. Yes.
Chiara, aspetta, non ti sentiamo. Aspetta un attimo che non capisco.
Okay.
Prova di nuovo a parlare.
Nowadays we live in a crazy society.
No, non capisco perché improvvisamente non sentiamo. Vai.
Nowadays we live in.
No.
But did you hear my speech here? Did you hear that?
Ti sentiamo molto piano.
Ok.
Ma la sentivamo fino a un minuto fa. Per cui non capisco cosa è successo. Viva?
Try. I can try.
Aspetta, Chiara. Funziona la rete? Il wifi working now? No.
Vedi la finestra, è una cosa perché
non sta funzionando la wifi, no.
Solo un minuto,
Ma hai accesso spento? Perché l'abbiamo già fatto.
Ah, ok.
Quindi quello l'avevamo già fatto e non va. No.
Ok, cominciamo un'altra maniera.
Ok, va bene. Ok, adesso problema audio. Chiara, parla di nuovo.
Okay, did you hear me? Did you listen me?
Sì, adesso ti sentiamo.
Okay, do I need to come back to the previous slides, or did you?
Penso che finora ti abbiamo seguito, Chiara.
Okay, so I come back to that slides. So nowadays we live in a crazy society. Normally I call that like a washing machine with no linearity, with a lot of risk, a lot of uncertainty, crisis. But it continues to resist in our society a rhetoric that nowadays all of us are free to choose wherever they want to be in the future. They're free to choose their career path. They're free to choose everything they want to achieve, their future goals, their career goals, despite the present of gender issues, social classes, ethnicity. There already exists this rhetoric, and it is still there. It's still in our society that we are free. But data show us a completely different world. They show us that women and men, white, black, people with or without disability, they burn in a theoretic way with the same possibility from the career point of view, but in the reality, our data show that our world is completely different. So there are an incredible amount of differences between people, dependently of their identity, dependent of their gender identity, dependent of their sex, dependent of their ethnicity, and so on. I give you just example. There are an incredible number of laws in Europe, in Italy, in particular, that they say to guarantee equal opportunity to everybody. But despite the presence of this law, women are still absent, for instance, from the public scene, from the apical position, considering, for instance, CEO position, academic position, in economical field, political field, they absent where the people make their choice. And in particular, especially if we consider not white women. So we have, one theory that say, yes, everybody is born the same. Everybody has the possibility to do wherever, anything they really want to achieve. But in the practical, the reality is a little bit different. So I give you some, example about how the reality is different from the theoretical point of view. First of all, vertical gender segregation. As I already said in the previous slide, that if we make comparison between men and women, and we can see the hierarchical opportunities, so the possibility to achieve hierarchical position, CEO position, we can see that there are more men than women. And just an example, 0 black women are executive and top on corporate in Britain. But you can find the same statistic if you consider Italy, Spain, Greece, and almost all the South Mediterranean country, and I can say also the old European country. So hierarchical point of view, all the women are stopped by social pressure, and we will see in the next part of the presentation, stereotypes. So all the social construct that stop with an invisible barriers women. So normally there aren't laws that say, okay, women cannot achieve the CEO position, for instance, or leadership position. But we will see really in the next slides, but what happened? For instance, selector prefer to hire some men because there are some, representation that men are more trust than women, that men are more able, capable in the, for instance, economical field. So there are some representation in our mind that move our choices from one to another. Vertical. So you cannot, if you are a woman, achieve or the higher position. Close to them, we have horizontal gender segregation. That means that we have an incredible amount of women in that field that are, that are linked to the traditional and stereotypical female idea. For instance, personal service, teaching, cleaning, healthcare, family care. So there are more women in that field, and it's really hard for a woman move and try to create a career, to build a career in the...
Chiara, ti devo interrompere un attimo. Chiara, perdonami, ti devo interrompere un attimo.
Don't worry. I know that normally, society is against when we talk about gender discrimination, and here we can have a proof. We really have to, face complexity nowadays. We need to face complexity to face gender equity, ethnicity equity, and so on, and inclusion as well. So here we are really, try to give us an example. Wi-Fi, give us an example how it's sometimes is really hard, to reflect about gender, but we can do it together, and we can resist to Wi-Fi problem and also to gender discrimination. It's an incredible metaphor in my opinion. So I already talked about the vertical one, but I will give you also just some example about horizontal one. So easier for women moving the traditional field that are linked to the stereotypical image of women. So all the the family care area, the personal safe area, clinical care, and so on. And you can find more and more women there. But for women, in particular for Black and Latino girls, are really hard to move in the not traditional field for a woman, sorry. For instance, STEM, so the mathematical, physical, scientific, and technological field. There is really hard for a woman to find a career, to maintain a career, to build a career. So you can find an incredible amount of women, in particular Black and Latino, in all the traditional feminist area. And this phenomenon is called sticky floor. So it's really hard to walk in a floor, in a field that is not linked, is not belong, in which from the traditional stereotypical point of view, of course, is not belong to your gender. That means that Black, Latino girls are really unrepresented in science and math profession. Even in that country that are, we can say, linked with, with the mathematical skills. For instance, Indian, there are incredible stereotypes there. Indian are so good in math. But if you compare men and women, Indian men and Indian women in the math field, you can find that you can find a lot of men and not so many women. So the horizontal gender segregation, the sticky floor phenomena, is the difficulties to walk and to create a path in a sector, in a field, in an area that is not connected from the stereotypical point of view, of course, to your gender. It's the same from the opposite. So for the man, they want to be a nurse and want to be work in the clinical care, personal service, and so on, but with the differences. The most incredible differences is the money, the gender pay gap. What that means? I started with the definition, and I continue with some reflection with you. The gender pay gap is the disparity between overall earnings perceived by men and women. You can see that in private sector, the difference is almost 21%. In a public sector is only, I can say this word, only 4%. But if we can reflect, if you can see the bottom part of the slides, Black women earn 70% that as much as white men. And Hispanic women earn only 65% as much. What that means? That the women cannot achieve higher position for vertical gender segregation. and higher position are the position that earn much more money. They cannot go in the most traditional male areas, such as all the scientific, technical, engineer, and mathematical ones that in our society are the position where people receive most earnings. In addition, in the same position, so one man and one woman that have the same job, doing the same activities, men and women receive different salaries. There are laws, as I said before, that say to guarantee same salary for the same job. What happened? There are some, implicit implication in that data. What that means? That, for instance, if me and one colleague of mine, men, and we are the same job, we work in the same company, and there are a new project, a new innovative project, our data tell us that normally that big project with big money are applied to the men and to the women. And on the opposite side, if there is a big, huge project with a lot of money, more men apply for their position than women. That justify a part of these differences, but it's not only that. So we can say that we have different possibility to achieve higher position, different possibility to achieve some career path. That means that there are segregation. You can also work, in the field that are linked to your position. And in addition, for women, there are another social pressure, work-life balance. The family cares. You can see new data here. 20-30% of men have informal care. That means family responsibilities, children responsibility, and so on. But we have 20-40 women that do that. And we have 60 women that, change something in employment to the childcare responsibility. But we have only 70% of men. All of that, we had three incredible consequences. First of all, it's really hard, you already said, to have the free of choice. The rhetoric say you can do anything you want in your life, but the reality say a different story. You don't have really a free to choice wherever you want in your life. There are some stereotypical ideas, there are social pressure, there are hierarchical segregation called the glass ceiling. There are sticky floor phenomena, the horizontal segregation. And despite your strength, despite your skills, despite your incredible capacity to planning, to face difficulties, the social pressure came and tried to block your possibility to achieve your professional and personal goals. This is what that means. It's difficult. It requires women to improve more and more skills to face all of these difficulties. Improve more and more, engagement to try to face difficulties, these inequalities, gender differences, and to achieve what they really want in their career life. And another consequence is that I think is really important and is really crucial to say that is less economy autonomy. I say that because, there is another rhetoric, another stereotypes. They say women cannot talk to money. It is rude to talk to money. I want to say that no, it's important to reflect that the less freedom of choice is connected with less economy autonomy. And less economy autonomy means that you cannot, really, face all the disequalities, because in order to face, to resist, to maintain yourself in a job position, it requests to have money possibilities. It requests to have, autonomy also from economical point of view. I don't want to stay there, but just to give you, a tip, just to give you one element to reflection. The less economy autonomy that you can see in the slides is linked with the domestic violence, is linked with the gender violence, the ethnicity violence. What I can say that if you are, in a really not functional relationship, but you don't have an economic autonomy, how many skills, how much courage do you need to leave your partner if you are dependent from an economical point of view from him? This is another element that I want to share with you. It's not only, career ideas, it's the life ideas, it's the life perspective, it's the life planning, it's your autonomy, it's the possibility to freedom to choose your life. If we have something that block your possibility to have a career, the block the possibility to earn money, the block the possibility to achieve your satisfaction in life, the block and try to stop the possibility to, achieve your personal and professional goals, this, increase your happiness, decrease your happiness, decrease your autonomy, decrease your freedom. And how that works? Because, every time I saw I use this slide, people say, yeah, we can change this. Yes, we can do it. Everybody. But in the reality, this everybody that want to change the society doesn't reflect in what happened outside. And why that? Because we have stereotypes. What are stereotypes? Normally people think that stereotypes are, the worst, are something that we need to eliminate. I want to be clear with you. It's impossible to eliminate stereotypes because stereotypes is, a way of our brain to work. We need to organize information because, our brain, we are limits in our resources. So we need to organize, we need to become really fast to make each decision. So we need to, to use only a part of our resources, not all of them. Stereotypes is in some way an answer to these needs, is an answer to our, evolutionary needs to be fast and reduce the use of energy. So we use some really fast link, a connection between groups and features. So stereotypes is like a picture, it's like beliefs about, features of some, for instance, genders groups, male and females. Our beliefs are about ethnicity, nationalities, and so on. So we cannot eliminate, it's impossible eliminate stereotypes because stereotypes is a structure, is an organization of our brain. Indeed, the problem is not the stereotypes. The problem is when we are not aware about our stereotypes, and that stereotypes became prejudice. What is the differences between stereotypes and prejudice? Stereotypes, I said before, is just a picture. Prejudice is when to that picture I had a feeling. I had normally a negative, but it's possible to have positive, but a negative is the most common one, attitude. So I don't trust, I don't feel safe, I have frustration when I'm close to someone with a bad stereotypes. Here are some examples. If I think that Colombians are hedonistic, that is one stereotypical about one stereotypes about Colombians. And I add, and they became these stereotypes a prejudice. I add a feel, an emotion. This is, I don't trust them. So I don't feel safe close to them. And the risk to this movement from stereotypes to prejudice is that they can become discrimination. That means a different treatment, an unfair treatment, and not possibility to join, for instance, a job team, to join, to be hired, to really, in a genuine way, create, build my career, my professional job, my professional goals, because of discrimination, they're coming from prejudice, they're coming from stereotypes. So the idea is be awareness, continue to reflect about stereotypes, because then that picture, that description can become prejudice. We can add negative attitude to that. And the risk, the worst part of stereotypes and prejudice and then discrimination. And they are so resistant. We make an incredible effort to try, not to change, to try to change it. We continue to maintain them. And you can think, but why? Why we need to use and to maintain stereotypes that we are saying are the cause of discrimination, that are the cause or less freedom of choice, that are a cause to, less autonomy and so on. Because our brain needs stereotypes. We need them. And, we pass and we learn them from the day we are born. So we really, we are like a sponge. We are full of that. And, we are so full. We live in a society so, so really full of stereotypes that sometimes we are not aware at all to use it, to have that in our mind and so. And in the last sentence, you can see that they induce a profound asymmetry of power. We are talking of power, because if you have the possibility to achieve the higher position, you have the more power that if you compare you with someone that you are not, that don't have that kind of possibility. So stereotypes, just an example in order to, give some content about. For instance, gender stereotypes that say that men are agentic. That means they can work not only at home, but also outside. They are competent, they are strapped, they are dependent, they are strong, they have skills, they can take responsibility, they can take initiatives and so on. And women, in our traditional and stereotypical point of view, women, we call them communal. What that means? They caring, they kind, they're beautiful, they like princess. It's important that the man protect the women, because women have the strength, women are the kindness. They're so innocent. This is the base of the difficulties to achieve higher position, for instance. Because, if the stereotypical point of view say to us, the men are the one that can take responsibility, and the women are more passive, people who will choose to give a responsibility position to men, because we think that for nature they are ready to take their position, and women for nature they're kind, they're beautiful. And I don't want to say that it's not important to be kind or to be beautiful, but I want to say that if we redact and we want to try to have an easy description of women, we lost part of information. And we can also, I want to also add another element, and this is about the final sentence in these slides. Gender stereotypes are descriptive and prescriptive. What that means? That they not only describe how people are, men and women are, but also they prescribe, how men and women must act. You are a man, you cannot say that you have some emotions. Come on, you are less man if you say you talk about emotion. If you are a woman that you are interested in the STEM, in a scientific field, you're less women. This is how our stereotypical vision works. They not only say how people normally are, normally I use means from stereotypical point of view, but they prescribe, they give some guidelines. And you can really, I think, understand the risk of this prescriptive part of stereotypes. And I think you can really feel how they can stop also from women itself to achieve some career goals, because the prescriptive part of stereotypes are something that is not only outside of us. Sometimes they are inside of us. That means that a lot of women think they have to be passive to be a good woman because it's the right, sorry for the right, but it's the right things to do. Apply something that is connected to the gender I belong to. I give you some more. I reflect about content, about ethnicity, ethnic stereotypes. For instance, Afro-Caribbean. All of them are gangsters, are involved in drugs. They're talking about drugs, they know about drugs, or they used in past, they fun-loving, they homophobic, they obstacle, they hero or victim. On the other hand, Latin, for instance, America, they are involved in drugs as well. They are uneducated, they're lazy, easygoing, hedonistic, ridiculous, exotic sex symbols. Considering if I have this kind of stereotypes, a lazy one or an educated one, for me, Latin America are uneducated. This is the stereotypical vision. And I have white men or white women that, for their stereotypical point of view, are educated by definition. Who I will choose for a job? Who will be really free to achieve their career goals? And what happened if I make an interaction between gender stereotypes and ethnicity stereotypes? So if I have, for instance, a Caribbean women, they are innocent, kind, dependent, but they also involved in drugs. Or Latin American, so I have a lazy women that are exotic sex symbols. How many possibilities have these women to, we can say, to really achieve what she really wants? What possibility they have, women have, if we compare, we use together gender stereotypes and ethnicity stereotypes. This is the risk, and we can call that intersectionality. Intersectionality is a lens, is a point of view that can try to take together all the identity that a person can have. Here in the picture you can have some examples: class, geography, education, family structure, gender, sex, age, race. There are also some data that show us that for men it's easier to be higher when you are younger, and it's really hard when you pass 40 years old. From past 40 years old, it's really hard to be high for a man. For a woman, I have to say we have less age discrimination. You know why? Because we have general discrimination. So we have gender discrimination in each phase of our life. But if we try to make an interaction between each category, I think you can really catch the meaning of these slides. If we can make an interaction, you can really understand why the stereotypical, and then I come back, the stereotypical vision here and here are only the base. There are only a base, because if we had only class, if you are poor or you are rich, education, how field are you in, relational status, are you married or not, all of that can create an amount of discrimination, because we can see here that each identity has different level of power. I'm talking about power. I'm talking about the power to achieve our professional and personal goals. the power and the privilege that some of us has and some of us doesn't have at all. So we can say that it's not a matter of quantity, how many identity do you have, but which identity do you have? Because some identity have different kind of discrimination, different type of stereotypes. Sorry for the joke about stereotypes and types, but it's a matter of quality. We need to be really clear, at least with ourselves, that we don't live in a Disney world with everybody are free. We can reflect that in this Disney world, princesses are not free at all, but it's another issue. It's another issue. In some ways, is connected with that. But we need it to be genuine and to see the reality in the face. Have different sex has an impact. Gender identity has an impact. Age, race, and so on. All of that has an impact, have an impact on our life and professional capacity to achieve our goals. We don't live in the idea that everybody can do whatever. I give you the example that I tried to explain in the first lesson. I'm not sure if some of you maybe already knew this data, but nowadays a lot of in human resources activity are made by the artificial intelligence. You can see here the 75% of resume are never read by humans. 40% use some technology to screen candidates. From the selection to the reading CV, but also for job interviews. Now they're using artificial intelligence, chat box, robot to make job interviews. For instance, some example, IKEA, Coca-Cola, the Trenitalia, they're using artificial intelligence. And some of you can think, yeah, thank God, because artificial intelligence are not like human beings. They don't have limits, so they cannot have stereotypes, because the base that I said to you, that human being, all of us, we use stereotypes in order to reduce resources, to be faster, and so on. But if the artificial intelligence has no limit, maybe they don't have stereotypes. Not at all. In that selection, the algorithms, first of all, are created by humans. So if you have an incredible amount of stereotypes and you are creating algorithms, you transport your stereotypes inside in the algorithm. But it's not only that. Algorithms learn, but they learn also how to reproduce discrimination. Algorithms use previous data in order to have, a more safe prediction. But their data are based on the historical, data about a position. And if we don't have women in a CEO position, algorithms know and learn that a man is better in that position because they don't have historical data about women in a CEO or in a higher position as well. The same for ethnicity, the same for age, the same for the disability. Because of course, I just talk about gender and ethnicity in order to be clear, but like here, we need to take in consideration all the categories. So in all, the 75% of resume are never read by humans. That we can say that in that case, there is an incredible higher risk that in the 75% of resume are full of algorithms that are based or with an historical background where women, Black or Latin people, older people, people with disability are missing. So the baseline, all the data that algorithms use have a bias. That means that miss some important stories, some important information, some important possibility. Artificial intelligence, reproducing the status quo. And the status quo, we are saying, is full and full and full of discrimination, gender, age, ethnicity, and so on. The artificial intelligence, they are looking for the ideal profiles, not something new, because new is risky, and they don't have a background about the new, because it's new, of course, by definition. So the artificial intelligence, in your opinion, who will choose? Who will choose? Because if I need to base on, only on my background, only on the historical data, I can, build also with a stereotype itself, because the people that creating algorithms has stereotypes by definition. Normally, they choose white, rich men. The Anglo-Saxon white men, because they choose the perfect. And what happened? The algorithm learned by himself. So I choose a man, I put a man in the leader position, and me, as an algorithm, say, check if that position, that man is good enough. And of course, they say, yes, it's good enough. They discover that it's good enough. Because I want to say, really, it's so far away from my intention, that men are not good enough to be a leader. I want to say that also women could be a good leader. But if an artificial intelligence choose a man, and they verify their choice, and they say, yes, it's good enough, that is perfect for that position, this algorithm continue to sustain discrimination and continue to learn the man is really good for their position without the possibility to innovative and inclusive perspective. So what we can do, and just 2 minutes in order to conclude my presentation. I went really fast. I really hope that you understand the topic, the main idea behind these slides. First of all, we need to start to ask to ourselves the other question. That means when I recognize something that seems racist, I need to remember also to ask another question to myself. Whether it's a patriarchy, so also the gender discrimination. When I see something sexist, I need to check also the sexual identity. So for instance, heterosexism. So I need to start also to add new question to my normal question, or to something that I starting to interact. So I need to improve awareness. Sorry, I come back just to give you the idea. I need to, if I see some sex discrimination, starting about the geography one. So add another one. So starting to ask the second levels, the third levels, and so on. And of course, we cannot fight everything just by ourselves. We need to remember that we are a group. We are a society that can achieve gender equity, ethnicity equity, and equity for all. Of course, we need also cultural intervention, educational intervention, and we need investment. It is, is in some way the baseline. I talk about money. I want to continue to talk about money, because it's not rude, it's necessary to invest in order to continue to monitoring and to create data, to continue to create new algorithms that take in consideration also the innovative and inclusion. And we need also, and really this is the last slides, new protocols, collaboration. Just to give you some words, empowerment action. We need to continue to give women and men, white, Latino, Black, and all the diversity, identity I mentioned before, the possibility to really achieve their personal and professional goals. It's hard, but remember, if it's true that there are a lot of discrimination together, that we can also see the same elements from another perspective. That means maybe, is it possible if we are facing one discrimination, that have an impact also on the others? And we need to remember that we are not alone. in that path and in that fight. We are, a lot of us, that we are really fighting, and we are really aware, and we like to reflect and work in order to improve our inclusiveness and our equity. Thank you. I hope that everything was clear. If you have any question, I am here to answer, to share with you what I wanted to share with you. Thank you. Thank you very much.